Hi, everybody, and welcome to the long anticipated session on Nearpod. We're going to focus on how to enhance student engagement in virtual learning by using Nearpod as a platform. Our agenda for today, we're going to spend a couple minutes kind of like stepping back and assessing how do you evaluate what tech tools work best for you. And that's just going to be here on the Google slide deck. Don't have to do anything, just listen to the soothing sound of my voice. And then I'm going to give you an overview of Nearpod, also here on this Google slide deck. Then we're going to do some practice together working with Nearpod in real time. I'll send you out to Nearpod and as well as your own Google Slides, and then a very short check for understanding Google form, which is located in Schoology. For today, we are focusing on the tenets of our staff culture, as we always do, but I really want to highlight pursuing equity and modeling lifelong learning. Nearpod is a platform that allows for a different pathway, that word pathway, for kids to access learning and be engaged. So it is a tool that supports that value as we pursue equity and modeling lifelong learning. Again, we've been presented with so many different tools this week, and it is my hope that as you have been presented with these things and you've processed them and you've decided what works for you and what doesn't, you are feeling more comfortable in the ability to not embrace everything that you've been taught in the world of tech, but choosing the things that work best for you and for your students and your class. Along with that, I want to take a moment here for us all to step back. And yes, it's another tech tool. Oh my goodness, you know, the last one at the end of this week where we've learned so much. I want us to just all take a moment to be like, and just remember that we're all really awesome teachers, and we have well-developed toolkits already, and that this technology does not replace us in our roles. Technology just enhances our teaching style and the curriculum that we already have. Don't consider how you're going to put every single tech tool that we've learned this week into your lessons. That's not the goal. The goal is that you have found a couple things that will work well for you as you design your virtual classrooms and start your virtual lessons. In working with some folks this week, I found myself asking people this series of questions, and I wanted to give them to everybody for you to keep and kind of ask yourself repeatedly as we go through this school year, be it fully virtual or hybrid or whatever. But this technology is here to stay, right? So when you're using it in your classes, I want you to ask yourself these questions, right? What tech tools am I most comfortable with? If it's slides, then use slides. If it's Nearpod, then use Nearpod. Don't go outside of the box. Work with what works for you. What tools reflect tools that you already have in your teacher toolkit? If you use PowerPoint all the time in your in-person lessons, that transfers virtually, use it there. If it works for you, keep it. What tools are most suited to my content? Math teachers are going to be using tools that are completely different than Wheatley teachers are going to use, right? So choose things that support the content that you need to teach. And also, what tools are most suited to the age group, right? Seniors may require a different set of tools than seventh graders. They will require a different set of tools, so keep that in mind. And also kind of the guiding principles for how much that I've found myself repeating to folks this week is less is more, right? So pick one strong platform, slides, Nearpod. If you like PDFs, digital PDFs, and that works for you and you can get kids to draw on them, go for it, right? And then one strong engagement strategy. So if it's something in Zoom, right, or the features in Zoom that work really well, that's great. If you love the things in Nearpod, that's great too. If you find a way to embed them together, go for it. But don't stress yourself out trying to integrate all of these things together. Okay, so now that we've vocalized that, I hope that just having those questions or that series of questions to ask yourself is helpful as you learn about yet another tech tool. Here's what Nearpod is. It's a platform. So think of it like a plate to present the food or the content that you're giving to kids. So it is a platform that presents that information in an engaging way. Nearpod allows for teachers to control the pace of the lesson. It also is helpful for providing in the moment, temperature checks or check for understandings in your class, and it allows you to see that data in real time. It has an easy user interface, and we all have pro accounts set up through Mastery, so we have access to all of the features. Some cons. Nearpod does have a lot of features and it can run the risk of being too showy. Today, I am going to go over basic, minimum, how to upload, how to embed engagement tools, how to present. That's it. So we're not even going to touch on all the other features that are there. Another con is that there are some issues editing uploaded slides. So if you upload from Google Slides, and I'll show you how to do this, you can't edit the Google Slides that you've uploaded into Nearpod. You have to make those revisions in Slides and then upload again. Another glitch with the platform is that these lessons are supposed to be given to students, quote unquote, live. They join with a code, and that code is regenerated every time you start a new live lesson, and they do time out. So you're going to have to find a way to drop the lesson code in real time, be that in the Zoom chat or in some other way that you communicate. If you put it on a slide at the start of your lesson, you just have to be mindful of that. So going back to those questions I gave you to think about when do you use specific tools? Here's a series of questions for when you use Nearpod. If you can't answer all of these, it may not be the best tool for you, and that's fine. So use Nearpod when all your lesson materials are done. You have your slide deck done, you know when you're gonna have your checks for understanding, you got every video, every sound cue done. All you have to do is upload. You already have a high level of comfort with Google Suite programs, slides specifically. If not, maybe you should spend more time working within Google Suite programs, because ultimately you have to have a good knowledge of Google Slides to then be able to present it on Nearpod. So work on growing proficient in slides first. You have clear points for student engagement scripted into your lesson. So you know where your checks for understanding are going to be and what you're looking for. And you've thought about how are kids going to access this Nearpod lesson, right? What are the expectations I'm going to set for them about how to access, about how to engage. Once you see what I give to you today in the presentation, you can start thinking about those routines and how you will present this platform to students. All right, if we can check off all those items, we can dive in. Materials you're going to need for this next section, and you can pause the video after this to go grab them. You're going to need a slide deck, so an actual lesson or a dummy lesson, at least 5 slides. If you can split your screen so you can have the YouTube video of this PD and then another window where you can work, and then your mastery email address. This last slide here is really just for you. This is like, skeleton of how you upload things into Nearpod. I've put this here for folks who are more visual and like key command pathways. So this is here for you for when we are finished today. Alrighty, so we are now going to actually create a presentation in Nearpod. So I am already signed into my Nearpod account, but I'm going to sign out briefly so that you can see what the login process is. You're gonna go to nearpod.com, you're gonna go to teachers, you're gonna hit login, and you're gonna sign in with your mastery email. So log in with Google, and then log in with your mastery account. And you should have your dashboard. Here we go, ta-da. So as you will see over here, I'm not gonna go into this, but Nearpod actually has pre-made content in different subject areas. These might be some things that you wanna look into for like ASYNC sessions or team building. Definitely some fun things to look through, but we're not gonna spend on our time on that today. We are going to create a presentation. So we're gonna go to new, lesson in Nearpod, not lesson in Google Slides. This is a feature where you can actually, all it does is Nearpod takes you out to your own personal Google Slides. You build your presentation there. It just allows for easier integration. Personally, I think that it's actually harder than just uploading. So we're gonna just do the upload process. So new lesson in Nearpod. And you're gonna go to your like storyboard. I call this a storyboard or comic book page. We are going to upload a file. So upload. If you use PowerPoint and you have your PowerPoint ready, you're gonna click on upload external file. Most of us are gonna do Drive. Click on Google Drive, and then you can select your slides. I'm gonna use the slide deck that I used for this PD, which is right here. Individual slides. We're gonna let this load. It will take a moment. The larger the file, the longer it takes to load. Okay, so I paused my video because this did take a moment to upload. But here we have my slide tile. So it kind of looks like a storyboard or comic book. And you can see that these are identical to what I had in Google Slides. Now I'm gonna show how to add engagement slides. So the activities to check for engagement. I'm gonna click on add to slide. There's lots of fun content here that we can go into on another day, lots of great features. But right now I'm just gonna focus on embedding engagement slides. So when you're considering, where is my check for understanding, or where am I gonna put my temperature check? You have to be intentional about thinking where, right? Not randomly, not because you feel like, oh, I wanna have a question here because I need to fit the time limit. No, it's about where are you actually gonna check for understanding. So I'm going to put one after the slide I had about staff culture. I'm going to make an open-ended question. And I'm going to type, what are the 2 tenets of staff culture we focused on in this session? Righty, now over here, I want to draw your attention to this. I love this feature, enable student audio recordings. So helpful, especially for our kids who may not be comfortable typing or insecure in their typing. If you enable that, they can record on the Chromebooks. All the Chromebooks have that microphone capability, unless they're broken, which there's only so much we can do, but most of them should have that. So it's a great feature to enable for them. Also here, Nearpod has the option, you can embed other items in the question. So if you want to put a picture for word and picture association, you can actually record the question so kids that benefit from having the teacher read to them can see that. Not going to go into these right now. The only one I would encourage you really to have is the enabling student audio recordings. And we're going to save. All right, I'm going to add 2 more engagement checks here just to show you kind of like my 3 favorite ones that I like. I am going to move this slide tile up here because I want it after this slide. I'm going to put another engagement tool here. This is after my the slide I gave you guys about like how you're feeling about all these tech tools and questions to ask yourself. I'm going to put a poll there because I feel like that would be a good spot to kind of gauge how people are feeling. So how are you feeling about integrating tech tools into your virtual lessons? Okay, I'm going to say I'm great. I'm okay. I could, oops. Oh, I was an English major too. I could use more examples and guidance, and then help. I feel overwhelmed. Okay. And again, we have the ability here where you can add a timer. I think that puts pressure on kids, but if you want to use it just to keep time because you know that you tend to go over and you find it helpful for yourself and your pacing, go for it. You can also add, again, a sound recording of you reading the question or another piece of media to enhance it. I'm going to save. And then we're going to add one more. At the end here, I have to move this up. Right here, I want to add some sort of engagement at the end here. So let's see, how about we choose a quiz. So if you want to do a little check for understanding at the end where you get the results, really in real time. So we'll just do one question. So we can say, does Nearpod allow the user to upload a pre-made Google slide deck? Yes or no. And then I select the right answer. So you have that coded. Again, you can add media. There's also a space to add another question. I'm just going to do one for right now. You can also add an additional answer if you're going to allow for additional options. For answer choices, you can add that. I'm just going to hit save. And I think we're good. So what I'm going to show you right now is how to store what you've made. So we're ready to go. We're ready to present, save, and exit. I'm going to call this Nearpod PD. Grade level, we're other. We're out of school. I guess we could be higher ed, but technically I'm higher ed because I'm in my master's program, but that's fine. And then professional development, and then save and exit. And then we have our presentation brought back to our main page. And we talked a lot earlier in the week about organizing your life, right, virtually. I already have a PD folder here, but to create a folder, click on the jelly beans and hover over this, click on the jelly beans, add to folder. So you can either create a new folder here. I'm going to add mine to the PD folder that I already have and hit add lesson. There it is. Okay, so now we're going to present. I'm going to take a moment to set up my screen and pause, but when I return, I'm going to show you side by side what the presentation looks like, student version and teacher version, so you can see how they work in real time. Okay, welcome back. So I have split my screen. This link up here, I want to draw your attention to this. This is what you are going to give to kids if you want them to join the lesson. So you're going to say, go to nearpod.com/student. You can post this in Schoology. That would be how they would access. Now, I want to go back to the teacher page over here and draw your attention to the presentation options. So if you present a lesson, student pace, that is going to be like how our NEST trainings were, right? With the Nearpod trainings, kids can go at their own pace, they can enter, they don't need to wait for the teacher to move the lesson along. That would be great for asynchronous lessons. Or if you want to post the lesson you had in class, you can post it in Schoology as a student-paced lesson. For right now, I'm going to just talk about what it looks like in live participation mode, since I think that's what most people will be using in their virtual lessons. Now, this is a new feature. I have not used this before because I had no need to use it before, but you actually can start live participation directly in Zoom. So what this means is that the Nearpod lesson will be the kids' like Zoom screen. So they still have to join. Oh, hang on, you have to enable it, so you turn on, and then you have to actually create a Zoom meeting. So this will take you out to your Zoom app where you schedule your meetings. I haven't used it. I will definitely try it in one of my lessons in the upcoming weeks and get back to you with a follow-up. But my understanding is that it will schedule it as a separate meeting, which may then conflict with the Zoom meetings you already have set up for your classes. So for right now, if you want to be ambitious and go ahead and try it and let me know how it goes, and if it's successful, go for it. I'm just going to go with the traditional live participation and show you how that works. So as I said, every Nearpod lesson has a code. The code is always located up here for kids. These lessons will time out after I think it's about an hour, it might be a little longer than that, if there's inactivities, right? So if you're sitting in between periods and you just have the lesson up, it will time out. So my suggestion is just restart a live lesson every time you do this. So what you're going to tell your kids is that you're going to type in this code. It does not have to be in caps. I believe Nearpod actually automatically puts it in caps. And then they're going to hit join, and it's going to ask them for their names. Again, it's something to set expectations around. I let kids put nicknames or whatever they want to put, just as long as I can identify them and it's appropriate. That's fine with me. And then join lesson. Something else kids will ask is, can other kids see my name? And the answer is no. I know sometimes that may be a concern that kids have, so you can tell them no, only the teacher can see. So as you can see on the student side here, I do not have these blue arrows. I can't move because this is a live lesson. So again, teacher control of the pace. So I'm gonna move through. Ta-da, you will see the student lesson moves at the same pace. Same slide, everyone's on board. All right, our first engagement question. So here's my screen asking me if I want my microphone on. I'm gonna say no for right now, but for the kids, it'll ask them this and it'll give them the ability to record their answers. So 2 tenets of staff culture, I'm gonna say personal, pursuing equity, and then model lifelong learning, and submit. And then give it a moment. It will pop up over here on the teacher side. I love this feature. It tells you participation, so you can see, and we do this all the time in classes, right? I have 98% of kids. I have 70% of kids. I need 100, right? It allows you to give that narration. Once you see everyone's done and you can see the answers, great spot for shout outs. If you do want to share the screen and you feel students are comfortable with that, you can share student responses and kind of note trends by sharing your view of the presentation. So moving along, and we get to a poll. So kids get a poll. Here's what it looks like on the teacher side. So how are you feeling about the tech? Well, I'm feeling pretty good. I think so. That's my job, so I should feel pretty good, right? Otherwise, we're in trouble. And then this is going to go through on the teacher end, and there you will see, and they color code the responses for you, right? So blue is I'm great, and then green, and then kind of a teal color. It'll tell you kind of the more colors you see, you get a sense on how folks are feeling. All right, moving along, we're getting to our last question here. And here's the quiz question. So we have one question here. Does Nearpod allow the user to upload a pre-made Google slide deck? I'm gonna just choose the wrong answer here so you can see what happens. So I'm choosing no and submit. The answer has been submitted. So this is a question I've been asked, do kids see if they got it wrong? They don't. However, you can give them the opportunity to edit. So this is a great private chat like, oh, you know, Kitty, I love that you tried, but can you go back and revise that one for me? Because you see he got it wrong. He can go back in, he can select yes, submit, and then you should note the change, yep, that goes through like that. And you can see how kids are revising. And then once you are done, you can go up here and hit end session. You also can get reports, so that will tell you, print you out a report of what the student responses were. So you can see this is going to be emailed to my mastery email. So if you want to collect the data and look at it later, you can go ahead and do that. I'm going to hit cancel for right now, and I'm just going to hit end session. And that will end it for all students. Okay. Alrighty, so we are going back to regular Nearpod. This was a very basic overview. How do you use it? How do you use the student engagement tools? Something that I hope folks are thinking about is either, yes, this is something that I want to work with and get better at, or nah, this isn't really for me, and that's totally fine. Totally fine, you work with what works for you. However, if you are somebody that you really want to start rolling with this, hopefully we can provide some sort of extended training for those people who are really invested in the Nearpod as we continue throughout the year. I appreciate everybody who was here with me today. I hope that this was helpful for you. In the Schoology folder, there is a Nearpod Check for Understanding. This link should work, and there are just some questions here for you to answer and reflect upon so that you can process what you've learned here today. Again, hoping this was helpful for you. Thank you all so much, and good luck with your virtual lessons.